Tonight, our special coverage on Israel's war on Palestine as reports emerge of a possible deal between Hamas and Israel. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Aisha Ashraf. Today is the 44th day since Israel started bombing Palestine indiscriminately. Israeli forces continue to target medical facilities and civilian infrastructure. Israeli tanks have surrounded the Indonesian hospital in Gaza, resulting in at least 12 deaths from direct strikes. The Israeli forces have reportedly targeted the Al-Kuwait school in North Gaza, where hundreds of Palestinians are seeking shelter. The school is near the Indonesian hospital, which is now inaccessible for emergency services. Photographs circulating online depict the school engulfed in flames. In a separate incident, Israeli forces have targeted a UN school in the Burej refugee camp, resulting in the deaths of at least 20 individuals. Most of them are women and children. The school has been targeted despite the presence of a UN flag on the building's roof and known GPS coordinates. This has raised concerns among residents in the central Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military had assured them that their area was safe. The claim by Israel about discovering a Hamas tunnel at Al-Shifa Hospital has been dismissed as a pure lie by Gaza's health ministry director. The World Health Organization says 28 premature babies have been evacuated to Egypt for urgent care, while 3 have been shifted to the Emirati hospital in South Gaza. The infants are battling serious infections and have been moved under high-risk security conditions. Palestinian Health Ministry says the death toll has exceeded 13,300. Out of these, 5,500 are children. 3,500 are women. The number of injured people has exceeded 32,000. UN Chief Antonio Guterres is calling the civilian casualties in Israel's offensive on Gaza as, quote, unprecedented since he assumed office in 2017. Multiple sources say negotiations to secure the release of civilians held by Hamas are edging closer to an agreement. The potential deal initially involves the release of 50 civilians by Hamas in exchange for Israel allowing an aid, including fuel. Although a firm deal is not yet in place, negotiators are working on a written draft agreement. The negotiations have been facilitated with the assistance of Qatar and the US. During an interview with the media, White House Deputy National Security Advisor Jonathan Feiner said that most of the differences between the two parties have been narrowed down. However, he refrained from sharing certain details. Qatar's Prime Minister describes remaining issues as very minor logistical matters. He has expressed optimism about an imminent agreement between Israel and Hamas. As of now, disagreements remain over surveillance during the release and Israel's demand for accounting of captives held by Hamas and other militant groups. Israeli police say Hamas had no prior knowledge of the Nova Music Festival when they attacked Israel on October 7th. Israeli newspaper Haaretz reports Hamas was unaware of the festival held near kibbutz and spontaneously targeted it. The attack resulted in 364 fatalities. Israel has since used the attack as a justification to target Palestinians indiscriminately, causing the death of 13,300 lives till date. The police assessment is based on interrogations and investigations. Reports also say that an Israeli combat helicopter indiscriminately opened fire, killing festival participants, including foreigners. Most attendees managed to flee following the attack. Investigations found no maps on the resistance fighters linked to the event. They also reveal most of the deaths at the festival have been caused due to heavy weaponry. Hamas claims that they did not possess such weaponry. An Israeli witness described heavy crossfire and tank shelling, implicating the Israeli forces in civilian deaths. Yemen's Houthi rebels have taken control of a cargo ship in the southern Red Sea. The Houthis, who control northern Yemen and its Red Sea coast, claim the ship is Israeli-owned. Israel, on the other hand, says it is a British-owned and Japanese-operated cargo vessel, the Galaxy Leader, with no Israeli nationals on board. The ship, which was en route from Turkey to India, has approximately 25 people on board. Ownership details link the vessel to Raykar Carriers, founded by an Israeli businessman. The Houthi military spokesperson says the seizure is in response to the indiscriminate killing in Gaza and the West Bank. He says Israeli and supportive ships are considered legitimate targets. Israel has labeled it as a, quote, Iranian act of terrorism. Israel says the incident will have potential global security consequences. Canada's stance on the Israel-Hamas conflict at the United Nations is drawing criticism from human rights advocates. Before the Hamas attack on Israel in October, Canada's ambassador to the UN, Bob Rae, had been urging both sides to return to negotiations. However, since the attack, Canada's voting decisions have raised questions. Canada has abstained from a UN General Assembly vote calling for an immediate humanitarian truce. Canada has also voted against resolutions condemning Israeli settlements. Advocacy groups like Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East see these decisions as unprincipled and damaging to Canada's reputation. The group is calling on Canada to align its votes with international consensus. Despite Canada's pro-Israel voting history, experts warn that such positions could alienate potential allies, particularly from the global south. And in related news, an international advocacy group says it will pursue legal action against Canadian government officials for their alleged complicity in Israeli war crimes. The International Center of Justice for Palestinians Legal Working Group for Canadian Accountability has served a notice to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Foreign Minister Mélanie Joly, Minister of National Revenue Marie-Claude Bibeau, and Attorney General Arif Irani. The notice warns that these officials of prosecution before the International Criminal Court for aiding and abetting Israeli war crimes. This announcement comes as Israel's war in Palestine rages and a severe humanitarian crisis unfolds in the region. The center has criticized the Canadian government's steadfast support for Israel, including arms exports and the alleged unlawful transfer of funds to Israel's military. Several human rights and foreign policy organizations are supporting the initiative to hold Canadian officials accountable for their support of Israeli actions. Toronto police have arrested a 28-year-old man in connection with 3 hate-motivated incidents. In the most recent incident, the accused, Chandler Marshall, has allegedly attacked the Toronto Islamic Center. This past Saturday, he allegedly confronted worshippers at the Toronto Islamic Center, hurling a rock at them and shouting derogatory slurs. He then assaulted a congregant with a bike chain, causing minor injuries. 2 earlier incidents involving Marshall occurred last Wednesday. He attacked a taxi driver by spraying an unknown substance in his face after asking if he was Muslim. Later the same day, Marshall confronted a hijab-wearing woman and made derogatory remarks. He also sprayed her with an unknown substance, causing minor injuries. He is facing multiple charges, including assault with a weapon, carrying a concealed weapon, administering a noxious substance, and uttering threats. The National Council of Canadian Muslims described the attack as violent and Islamophobic. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow has condemned the Islamophobic incidents and violence. She says Canadians must stand against all forms of hate. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.